Here we are today at the Connecticut Air and Space Center in Stratford, Connecticut. The center is a nonprofit aviation museum that displays vintage aircraft, memorabilia, and artifacts that pertain to Connecticut. Connecticut has been a center of aircraft production and still is the center for the production of Sikorsky helicopters. The museum is especially known for having restored the Corsair fighter plane that you see here, which was used to great effect during the Second World War, especially in the Pacific Theater, as a carrier-based aircraft for the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps. It was also used in the Korean War. Today, the museum held a military vehicle show. The museum recently moved to these new facilities, but it is awaiting a grant from the state of Connecticut to expand further. The museum has a store where you can buy t-shirts and sweatshirts, many having the logo of Chance Vought, the company that designed and produced the Corsair fighter. They also have model airplanes and other items, many of which are geared toward the younger crowd. But of course, you're never too old to start a collection of military memorabilia, even if you want to justify it as being meant for your grandchildren. And I have to admit, there is some pretty cool stuff here. A couple of years ago, I bought a Chance Vought t-shirt from their store. It's a good conversation starter. As you wander through the museum, the first thing you really notice is the restored Corsair fighter. For years, this Corsair sat outside, deteriorating. Then some local guys decided to restore it. Now the plane is a marvelous centerpiece for the museum. Some viewers might remember the TV show Baa Baa Black Sheep, which showed during the late 70s. It starred Robert Conrad and told the story of a Marine Corps squadron of Corsairs as they fought the Japanese in the Pacific during World War II. Now we'll just take a little stroll through the museum. There's really a lot to see here, and they have major plans to expand the museum in the near future. This is an air museum, so you will see many models of aircraft that have been used by the Air Force as well as the Navy and the Marines since the First World War over 100 years ago, from the early biplanes to the latest jet aircraft. The exhibits also include biographies of people who have played an important role in the history of aerial warfare, as well as those who were critical in the development of this museum. There is a lot to see here, and I would encourage you to come and visit the museum here in Stratford, Connecticut. The military vehicle show took place outside the museum. It kicked off with a presentation of the colors by an honor guard made up of members of the local VFW and American Legion posts, and a rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. There was a small flea market of military clothing, books, and memorabilia also. And there's some pretty interesting stuff here. Those boots look awfully large. Okay, and I'm a size 11. So anyway, there's some pretty good stuff there. You can see the clothing, if you want to purchase that. I was checking the prices, can't remember what they were. But there was some interesting stuff. And didn't quite see what they were for and so forth, if they were real or if they were copies. And of course the books, there's some pretty good books there. And of course they even have some model planes. If I can get it working right here. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're at the military museum.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
And you look like a World War II person?
Yes.
Medical, I see.
Yes.
So would you be a nurse?
Yes. Correct.
Army, I guess.
I believe so.
I
believe so.
Yeah. Oh. And this bike is the original bike?
Yes. And it goes with the
bicycle.
Jeep over there.
Okay, an Army nurse from World War II. Very good. Okay, and then we moved on and we met another woman who was dressed in another Army uniform of some sort. A very pleasant lady. And I had a little talk with her. And then we moved on to the vehicles. A lot of these vehicles, like this one here, I believe this might have been used in World War II, but I think they said it was World War I also. That's a French 75mm howitzer, which, as far as I know, we did not use in Vietnam. We did have howitzers there, but they were much larger than that. And but it's a pretty cool looking howitzer there. Yeah. And then we have some, okay, that's that vehicle, whatever that was, I assume World War I or II, I don't know. And then we have the Jeeps. We did have Jeeps in Vietnam also, that's my experience. They weren't quite as ubiquitous, I don't think, as in other wars. But we had them. And we look at the inside of some of these Jeeps. And there was one Jeep, I'll be seeing it in here in a second, it was actually for sale. I think the gentleman wanted this one here. He wanted, I think, $15,000 for it, which a friend of mine was actually looking at it, and he's still, a couple weeks later now, seriously considering buying it. Then we went out here to look at the trucks, and this is where I'm a little confused now. This first truck, I believe, was a Vietnam era truck, maybe also Korean War, I'm not sure. I rode in a couple of those trucks in Vietnam. They did have those railings on them, they see on the left side here, but this truck here I think was post-Vietnam. So it's a more recent vehicle. And this again might be one of those Vietnam era vehicles. I'm not a truck driver. I didn't drive trucks, so I don't know too much about them. Anybody with more experience could talk about them. This again looks like these do look like newer models. So it was a nice show altogether. The Jeeps were especially interesting, and like I said, one of those Jeeps was actually for sale, and it's very tempting. Yeah, you can imagine people sitting in the back there, soldiers and Marines sitting in the back and going from one place to the next. And that's what we did. And of course, using to carry supplies also. Again, this one, again, I think that was one we used in Vietnam. It was probably used before Vietnam also. But again, I'm not an expert on that. And this is all at the airfield, the Stratford Airport, which is a working airport. As you'll see in a few minutes here, I actually show a couple of planes taking off and landing. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And here's a Huey helicopter, which was, I think, a local police helicopter. And this one, the gentleman was showing this here was some kind of experimental plane, which, although it's not a military plane, and something that I guess you could purchase planes like this. And I was actually at a gentleman's house one time years ago, and I went into his garage and he had a plane bigger than this that he was building. All in all, it was a fun show. The museum, which is actually called the Connecticut Air and Space Center, is located in an old hangar at the Sikorsky Memorial Airport, which itself is owned by the city of Bridgeport, although it's located in the town of Stratford, right on the north coast of Long Island Sound. It's a small airport, but it does have planes taking off and landing, including jets, small jets. Oh.